Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife review on the Sencut Snap. I've had this one around for a while. I really enjoy this knife quite a bit. The action is good, the ergonomics are good, the overall design I find to be really good as well. I do have one complaint about it. We'll get to that when we get to it. But before we get there, let's do a quick rundown, size, weight, all that kind of stuff. So very quickly, this guy is 8 1/8 inch, almost 1/8 of an inch. It's just a hair under. The blade length is 3.5 inches. All right. When closed, you've got just over 4 5/8. All right. Just a hair over 4 5/8 and 3 5/8 of grip area, which for my hand, which is fairly large, all right, works pretty darn well. In terms of the weight on this, 3.7 ounces, so pretty lightweight to carry around with you. Certainly not anything to complain about. Let me give you a quick rundown on the materials, and then we'll get into sort of my thoughts here. So up front, we've got this blade, stonewash finish, 9CR18 MOV steel, nice and thin behind the edge, fairly thin stock, so it's under 1/8 of an inch. This is not a big, robust, crazy type of knife. It's fairly slim there, not as slim as some knives we've seen, but not as robust as you might get from other knives in this size range either. Kind of a balance, and this really isn't. I think this is meant to be more of an EDC style knife. It's not meant to be like an outdoor survival knife. It's not meant to be anything too crazy. But I think for that, it does a pretty good job. My experience with cutting with edge retention has been quite positive, and part of that is because of that thinner blade. So that's my thoughts there. They've done a nice job with the sharpening choil there, and the design here is pretty attractive as well. Now, the only thing is, I think there are a couple of Sencut knives with a hollow grind, and I do prefer that. If you're going to go slicey, why not go crazy and make it a hollow grind? Then it's going to be super ultra slicey. Moving on to the handle and the action, this is, of course, a stainless steel liner lock. They're not nested liners. We've got G10. This one happens to be the sort of burnt red G10. The action is nice. The detent is very good on this. It is flipper deployment only. All right, so if you are one of those guys who has to have a knife that deploys in every conceivable way, this may not be the one for you, but the flipper is really comfortable and really functional. The detent is nice and snappy. All of that is good. The one complaint, and remember, this is a pretty budget-friendly knife, so, I'm not going to be too hard on it, but the lock bar is not very accessible, so I really have to kind of jam the thumb fat in there and see how even then sometimes I fail. It's a little easier if you use the tip of your index finger. Probably a lot of you with knives that are limited in space here have figured that out at kind of the edge of your thumb, but I don't like having to do that. It's kind of annoying to me. So that I'm going to take points away for. And here's the problem, guys. The market is flooded with, G10, 9CR18 MOV flippers. There are dozens and dozens of them. There are dozens just from Sencut. And then if you add Civivis, there's that many more. So because of that, you kind of got to, I've got to recommend you kind of skip this one unless you really love the design or unless you're willing to modify it. You could take a Dremel and cut a little bit of material out here and make that lock bar more accessible. But what would be even easier than that? Just clicking on another knife. And Sencut has some similarly sized knives, similar roll knives, where the lock bar is more accessible. The Brazoria or the Actium might be good options for you. All right, so that's my only real complaint on this. And I feel bad when I only have one little issue with a knife to say, yeah, I'd probably skip it. But in the case of what this is and where it fits in the marketplace, there's just too many good competitors to put up with anything that's not perfect. All right. With that in mind, let's throw in a couple of other options you might want to look at. So I've got the Civivi Voltaic here, which I do really like. Very handsome knife there. Again, sort of an EDC knife. It's a little heavy for its size, and it's going to cost you a little bit more, but it's not crazy price. Here is the Kaiser XL Assassin. Notice even the XL is a little Is it smaller? Yeah, even the XL is smaller than this. But, again, similarly priced, slightly better materials, button lock. I mean, wow, it's not similarly priced. It's going to cost you a little bit more. I think this will go for, $65, $70, and this will go for like $45. But you're going to get some upgrades for that extra dinero you're going to put in there. What else have we got here? So here's a knife that's similarly priced. If you wanted something similar but a little heavier duty, the Real Steel H6 would be a great option. Another similar option could be the Rat Model 1. Okay, again, similar size, a little heavier. The Rat Model, the H6 is going to be like 6 ounces as well. So the 3.7 ounces here, this is going to be lighter weight than this for sure, but it's going to be a little more genteel, if you will. I will throw in a pair of two just because everyone's so familiar with it. Obviously, they're not in the same price category at all, but it should give you a good size comparison. Okay, guys, so those are the comparisons I've got for you. What's my overall thought on this knife? Look, the knife is fine, and I've carried it, I've used it. I can't be too harsh because I can't really. It's done everything I've ever asked it to do. It's easy to carry, and I kind of like the design, but the lock bar access is really annoying, and that's the problem in a market such as this. There are there are so many other options that rather than put up with even the slightest issue, it's easier just to buy something else. So there you go, guys. That's my thoughts on the Sencut Snap. Decent knife, mostly enjoyable, but the lock bar is a little annoying to get your fingers in there. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Using those channel sponsors that'll be in the description box is a huge help as well. I'll thank you in advance for doing that, and we'll talk to you soon.